Or this is a fresh wound. You woke up. What have you needed to do to travel your journey of empowerment, minimize the pain so that you can become the woman you are wanting to become?
Well, my name is CAMILLA DORAND, and I am a magazine publisher here in Las Vegas, and that is what I do.
Before we dive into the many facets of you as a professional businesswoman, you are going through a very specific journey of empowerment, and I've been watching you go through it, and I'm seeing the transformation, the transition. Here's the question I want to ask. Is the empowered woman... Oh, look at that beautiful cat.
This is Frank. He's my assistant. He's
I
always
love that. I love
making
that.
his presence known by everybody.
Cats have a very healing aspect. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So in this journey of empowerment, it's becoming so commonplace. Is it oversaturated, or is it just the beginning of feminine empowerment? Where are we on that scope? Give me the female perspective.
I think that it's not saturated. I think that because you and I are in tune with the subject, we are seeing a lot of that. But there are still many people, many women who are afraid of not having the courage, well, maybe having the courage to really step into who they are meant to be, because that takes a lot of, we have to shed a lot and let go of a lot what no longer serves us. And that might include partners in romantic relationships, that might include parts of ourselves, that might include friends, right? So, and letting go is never easy, Vital.
It hurts. It hurts.
It hurts. It's painful, and people are afraid of what they're going to find if they let go of the known and step into the unknown.
So along your journey of empowerment, what are you doing? What have you done to minimize that pain? Because I can compartmentalize and I can logically tell myself, this person doesn't deserve my kindness. This person was a insert explicit, the insert that you want to insert. We can logically do all those things, but it still hurts. What have you discovered about yourself? What have you needed to do to travel your journey of empowerment, minimize the pain so that you can become the woman you are wanting to become?
I don't think you can minimize the pain. I don't think that's the way.
Okay.
I think leaning into the pain is the way.
All right. Break it down. Leaning into the pain. Break it down.
Yeah. So I got divorced. So I've been through a lot. Like many people, most people have been through a lot in their lives. But most recently I got divorced I walked out of a marriage, of an 11-and-a-half-year-old marriage last July.
Oh, this is a fresh wound.
Yeah, this is a fresh wound. And so it took me a long time to walk out of that marriage because I'm originally from Brazil. And I moved to America because of,
right? Sao
Paulo. And I moved to the United States because of the relationship with this man. And in my mind, I had to work at whatever costs. And so so in the beginning, everything's fresh, everything's new. In the first few years, I'm still adjusting. I just had cancer surgery before moving here. So I was still adjusting to my own body, figuring out my hormone situation. Like everything was a transition for me.
There's something men we can't relate to, so I'll take your word for it about the hormones. I believe you.
And so, in the beginning, everything was great. Everything was great. I didn't see things. And then as time went by and everything settled down, I started to notice certain behaviors. And there were conversations and, requests to change and go to therapy and this and that. And for 11-and-a-half years, nothing changed. Things got worse, in fact. And, I went into the depression, through the motions, whatever. And then in July of last year, it's like I woke up and I'm like, I'm out of here. And for the first
all that thought, I don't want to interrupt you because I want to break this down, but you bring up things that I'm like, oh wait, that's clue. You woke up.
Yeah, I woke up.
Break that down because a lot of people don't wake up. A lot of people are afraid to wake up. What was that moment for you that maybe you'll spark somebody to realize, wait a minute, I know that feeling. I've been there. This is my sign. What was your wake up moment?
Okay, so I had been wanting to get divorced for a few years before I actually walked out, right? However, my situation wasn't ideal. I was still in school, getting my master's degree. I didn't have an income. I didn't have a support system here in the US as an immigrant. I didn't have a support system.
There's your problem right there. You're too intelligent. Most men are intimidated.
You're so cute. You're so cute. And so I stayed and I tried to make it work, and I started to focus on my animals. I started to focus on my lifestyle. I would focus on my trips. I would just focus on everything, and the marriage was just there. Yeah. Right? And so I started a personal development process in October of 23.
Okay.
And with this personal developmental process, I started to release a lot of narratives that had kept me in my marriage and in other parts of my life where I felt stuck.
So was there a moment when you're like, you know what? Yes, I'm now aware of these narratives. I'm now aware of the toxicity that I allowed potentially enable.
Yeah. So, Camilla from 2012 and 13, because I met him at the end of 2012. That Camilla no longer existed after all these narratives were discovered and released.
Is this because you were systematically sort of broken down?
No, it's because I don't understand your question.
Oh, you said this version of you no longer existed is because a lot of people who experience toxic relationships, they lose themselves, not by choice.
Oh, but I did. I was so I felt numb, right? Yeah. I felt numb inside. I felt like a dead woman walking. Like even sexually, I wasn't feeling anything. Like physically feeling anything, not only emotionally, but physically. Like I had completely shut down. And as I started to release these narratives, I started to wake up, like a veil was lifting, and I realized that the Camilla that was now, free from all those narratives did not fit in that toxic relationship with that man, with my ex-husband. Does that make sense?
It makes absolute sense. Yeah. I'm sure that many people, many women, hopefully listening in will relate to this. And by the way, if you are listening in and you do relate to this, share your experience. There's some overlap here, I'm sure. And by you sharing, you not only empower yourself, but you'll also empower the community. So keep going. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
It's okay. You're so cute. It's my pleasure and honor to be here, Vital, just so you know.
Thank you.
And so what made me decide to leave was the last time I had sex with him. I just said, I can't do this one more day. This is the last time I'm having sex with this man.
I don't want to get too personal and nitty gritty, but that's a very bold, defining moment. And I want to try to understand it because we can spiritually check out, we can emotionally check out, we can physically check out. For you, your body had a visceral reaction. It's communicated something so powerfully.
Yeah.
Can you explain what that feeling was and how you understood this is a sign I can't ignore?
Well, having sex with him was challenging in the sense that I didn't really want to in the end. I just did it to keep the peace at the house, right? But I would do it. I would do it just to keep the peace in the house and in my own mind, but that day We were just there, and something just took over me. And I said, that's it. This is it. This is the last time. I turned 50 last year. And my thought was, I'm going to be 50. How many more years am I going to wait to feel sexually fulfilled, or to feel truly desired, to feel whole as a woman?
When you said to feel fully whole and fully desired, there are two parts to this equation. I want to challenge you a little bit on one side. So there's the part where you weren't fulfilled, right? So in a relationship, we depend on the other half to somewhat validate us. And there's no harm in that. That's a part of a relationship. Empower me, make me feel safe, make me feel secure. But then there's also the part of, where do you draw the line where it's their responsibility to make me feel whole, or it's my responsibility to make me feel whole?
Right. It's my responsibility to make me feel whole. It's my responsibility to be fulfilled. But as a woman, what do we want in a relationship? We want to feel safe.
Yeah. I just did a reel about this, and I'm glad you called.
You were going to be like, oh my God, you women are so complicated. We're really not. Like, we really want to feel safe. We want to feel safe. We want to feel supported. We would want to feel heard. We want to feel seen. That's it. This is it.
I'll let you in on a secret. Men want that too, by the way.
Yeah.
Maybe the thing that I would add that men want to somewhat feel fulfilled, maybe more importantly for women, is men want to feel respected. When you respect a man, that's our safety. So it's interesting, but I want to go back to the fulfillment. You felt as a 50-year-old woman, I'm no longer fulfilled. I'm now going to take ownership of this situation. I'm going to change it. That takes courage, takes great self-awareness, takes great resilience. Yes or no? And you elaborate on those things, what they felt, tasted, looked like for you.
Yeah. So, I could not, it was also not an act of desperation, but I had just had it. I had held on to something for so long, and it was hurting me. And I think that's how I explained it to him, because he didn't understand. I said, listen, for years, I put you and the marriage first and me last. Now I've flipped. I'm putting me first and you and the relationship after me. This is what's happening. That's what happened. I started to love myself again, even though not emotionally, because I felt numb.
Yeah.
But I knew instinctively that's what I had to do.
Is this an inevitable journey of, and I want to tap into what I'm sort of calling the modern woman, and how the dynamics of relationships, manhood, femininity have changed. Is this the inevitable journey of women becoming empowered, potentially making men feel lesser than? Is this what's, because psychologically what you're telling me, if I'm in a relationship and suddenly a woman demotes me to this, it hurts, but then I look at it and say, well, maybe it should have been equal the whole time.
Well, Vital, it's so, it takes two to make a relationship work.
Yeah.
It takes open communication. It takes goodwill. It takes like a lot of things. And it's not like we didn't try. But in the end, we were just not good together anymore. And it's not a matter of disempowering one another on purpose.
Yeah.
It's about realizing that the relationship didn't serve either of us anymore.
Was there a level of guilt that you are now going to make this decision and end a marriage?
I didn't feel guilty at all.
Yeah.
for ending. Because I was so saturated, like, it's time, it's time. But to answer your question about the feminine, like what's happening to women nowadays, I don't think we're out to demote you guys or demasculinize whatever words
That's
there
what it
are.
feels like.
No, but it's like we're not taking crap anymore. That's
Yeah,
it.
that makes sense. That makes perfect sense.
Women, we used to like suffer and hold on to the relationships because of societal conventions, or because we didn't believe we could get it, we could find anybody that would be better, quote unquote, better for us. Like, there are so many reasons why women stay in the relationship, and men too. There are so many like excuses, the finances, the children, the lifestyle, the whatever.
Did
Right? So
you
it's not only a female movement, but men, they are content with things, and they take a little longer to make decisions, and sometimes they never do.
did you have that conflict about leaving the relationship? Because you said women validate. Did you make validations? Were you aware of the validations that you've been making throughout the 11 years?
Oh yeah, totally. um I created an illusion. I created a story in my mind. I created a version of my ex-husband in my mind, and I was holding on to that reality, even though instinctively I knew that it was all fictional, because I wasn't happy.
Yeah. I want to go to the foundations of your journey, and going back through history. And I had to do some research to understand feminism is built on the platform of the suffragettes who, like in the mid 1800s,
Yeah,
people like Susan B.
started
Anthony, who fought for women's rights. I recently read it was only in 1974 when women had the right to get their own credit card. These things are
yeah,
absolutely insane.
yeah.
And then the woman becomes empowered. She gets these rights. And I started to understand, okay, there's feminism and there's feminine empowerment. And I thought, are they?
Right.
Apparently they're not. So feminism is the collective and empowerment is sort of more the individual. I want to set you a challenge coming from a male perspective. I plead the fifth. I'm naive. I'm looking for insight.
Okay.
Is there a difference between an independent woman and a selfish woman? From a male perspective, sometimes it gets a bit foggy where she's claiming to be independent, but we just think she's being selfish. Help us understand, what does independent mean for you as now you're stepping into your independence, your power?
So before I answer this question, what does selfish mean to you?
All right, are you ready for this? I'm going to get some.
Yeah, I'm ready for this. Because before you answer, I want to be clear that I'm not a feminist.
I'm okay with feminism.
But I'm not a feminist. I don't think that women or men are equal. I don't want to be equal to men. I don't. I like chivalry. I like to be taken care of. Not, I'm a businesswoman, so I can take care of myself. It's not that, right? I'm not looking for a sugar daddy. That's not it. But I'm a little bit old-fashioned in the sense.
Right there. So you basically already answered my question, but I'm going to reiterate what you said as to the why. Independence for me is I can take care of myself.
Right.
The resources to do what I do, live the way that I want to.
Uh-huh.
However, out of respect for you, my man, my king, my hero, I choose to not go to Cancun with my single girlfriends and get naked and drunk on the beach.
Correct.
I choose to. So independence is a choice. But a lot of empowered women are saying, well, I get to do whatever the hell I want. And yes, I am going to go out and post my cleavage on social media and have men drool over me because I want to. I don't care about you. That's where I draw the line between a lot of modern women have misconstrued independence with, I will do whatever the hell I want, with who I want, when I want.
Because they are trying to compensate. Women who are secure, people in general who are secure, who are sure of themselves, who are centered and grounded, they don't need to go and show their boobs on Instagram. They don't need to tweak their butts on Instagram or social media or whatever, right? I like to wear sexy clothes, but I know the point between sexy and vulgar.
Yeah.
I know the limit, the line, right? And I don't need to call attention to myself by doing certain things because I know who I am. And I think women nowadays, they are in competition of like, who wears the shortest, most transparent, most cleavage, who can get the most likes. Like, it's become an obsession. Who can have the biggest butt, the Brazilian butt? I'm the buttless Brazilian. Vital, I'm the
buttless Brazilian. Add a thong to that Brazilian butt, please. That's what you guys brought to the forefront. Brazil used to be famous for
when you see me, I have like my butt practically non-existent. I am the buttless Brazilian, and it's okay. I have other attributes, It's fine.
Intelligence is very sexy. Intelligence is very sexy.
Yeah.
We're laughing about a very serious topic, and I want to sort of backtrack and say, I'm asking a question, was there validity to my naive, potentially misogynistic perspective to what the selfish woman is? Is there some validity that it's okay, to be independent, but you don't have to be selfish?
So but the definition of selfish is to take care of self, isn't it?
No. I would say that selfish is like overconsumption, gluttony, greed. I'm going to take care of myself at such a level where I lack compassion, empathy, consideration, emotional intelligence for the repercussions, the consequences of my acts, because I'm doing it regardless of how it impacts you. That is selfish.
So help me understand how then, because like in my particular situation, he didn't want me to leave. He did everything he could for me not to leave, but I had reached the point that I needed to leave. So I didn't really regard his feelings. Does that make me selfish because I left?
And I'll explain why. That's a very valid point, and I'll explain why. Considering context, right? There's the context of the entire relationship. There's the journey you've gone through. There's the patterns of behavior that you've gone through, that he's gone through, and you've gone through this journey where it's now detrimental to your wellness.
Right.
So again, selfishness is like gluttony. I'm going to overindulge in my self-gratification, my self-pleasure. All you've done now is you've reached the point where I've come to the realization this is no longer serving me. It's unhealthy, maybe toxic. I need to save myself. Saving yourself, looking out for your wellness is not selfish.
Right.
So no, I wouldn't.
But his family sees me as selfish, right? A lot of people see me as a selfish bitch. Ooh. Yeah, because I left, and he was in an accident, a serious car accident 3 weeks after I left, and I didn't really go visit him.
Well, so now we get into a talking point, which I'm glad we got there. Narcissism. I don't know. I actually met your husband once at a networking event, and I don't want to say he's a narcissist. I don't want you to accuse him of being a narcissist. From what you shared, there's some narcissistic traits there. But one of the narcissistic traits is playing victim when it goes wrong and they're being held accountable, playing victim, smear campaign, flying monkeys, all those things seems to be what you're experiencing. Are trying to make you feel guilt and shame.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, and this is something for listeners who do go through that. I went through that phase of, am I the narcissist?
Right. Well, I never really asked myself that question because I know that I am kind, that I am compassionate, that I am charitable, that I am loving. Like, I know all those things about me. So the guilt trip never worked.
Can I ask you how you know those things about you? You are those things, by the way, but how do you know? What self-evaluation, what introspection, what work did you have to do to be confident in this is who I am?
I've been doing personal work since I was 18 years old, personal and spiritual. So I've developed a very acute sense of self-awareness. I read a lot, and I do charity work. I do volunteer. I do extend a hand to the needy, right? So my behaviors, my actions, and how I feel, the emotions that I feel, the connectedness to the other show me that, I have all these qualities.
So you've gone through this journey since a very young age of self-evaluation, self-awareness, emotional intelligence. You've now transmuted it into something to help others. Tell us a little bit about that journey now. You've got this thing called RED, if I'm correct. Tell us about RED and tell us about.
Okay. So, my mission in life is to serve people. And I've done it in many ways through many facets. My most recent ones are through a platform called RED, Rise, Empower, Dream, where
Rise, Empower,
Dream, RED. Yeah, it's an acronym because one of my magazines is called Red Rock. So I love the color red. It's a very passionate color. I'm wearing red today. Very passionate color. So RED, Rise, Empower, Dream. And I'm also an author, right? So I have 2 books published. One is a memoir. It's about my story to empower others to, go on their own journeys and not want to fit into a box.
By the way, I'll put the links to all these resources in the description below. So make sure to check out the links in the description below. So you've written 2 books, you've done all these things.
In English, right? In Brazil, I have 4 others published, but here I have 2 books published, and another one is 108 Days to Activate Your Life, because 108 is a very powerful number. Wow. The combination of 108 in the Eastern philosophy is like the recreation of energy, because 1 is the beginning, oneness, the start of everything. 0 is nothingness. It's like an empty space. Everything is possible. And 8 is the infinity.
Yes.
So 108, and like the mala has 108 beads. Yogis chant 108 times to activate certain energies. Yeah. So, and there's like the diameter between the sun and the moon. Like I studied all that before I started writing the book. So for 108 days, the challenge is for you to find something new to do every day. And I give those ideas in the book.
Everybody note it in your calendar. 108 days from today, whatever the date is today, 108 days. I love that. Wow.
Yeah. And so I launched this platform and these books to really contribute to people's journey on finding themselves. And I also host ayahuasca retreats. Yeah, ayahuasca retreats. Ayahuasca has been in my life since 2016. I've taken ayahuasca.
Can you break down? I know what ayahuasca is. It's a ritual, but can you break it down for those who don't? I know it's
sure. So ayahuasca is a psychedelic that comes from from 2 trees in the Amazon. So Brazil and Peru have these trees, and ayahuasca is a brew that's been used by the native Brazilians, Peruvians for many years, for centuries, to heal mental, emotional health. That's what ayahuasca is.
I've heard that it's life-changing. For the most part, people have said to me who have done it, it's the most amazing thing that I've ever done. I threw up 7 times, but it was worth it. I feel like a new person. And then every now and again, there's the person that says, it's the worst thing I've ever done. Don't even think about it. It's horrible. It's disgusting. It's an individual thing, isn't it?
It is. And it because it's all about where you are. So the first time I took ayahuasca, it was horrible. It was horrible because of where I was emotionally in my journey with my mother. Like the forgiveness and the acceptance, right? I was still going through the emotions of the relationship with my mom, healing that. Because she died in 2008, and we had like a very turbulent relationship. She was an alcoholic. It was horrible. It was a horrible relationship, and I needed to heal that after she died. And ayahuasca showed up for me, and I started to use it to help me move forward. And I used hypnotherapy. That's why I became a hypnotherapist too, because it helped me. And then it became so powerful and such a force in my life that I decided to start hosting these retreats in Brazil.
And retreat of thongs and butts. That's right. Is that Brazil? The same Brazil? Yeah.
Yeah, that's Brazil. And then last year in 2011, I brought the retreat here to the US. I hosted my first retreat, my first ayahuasca retreat here in Vegas. And it was amazing. A lot of people, like everybody that I know that has come to these retreats that I host, have left transformed.
Is it a day thing? Is it a 3-day thing? Is it an hour?
Yeah. So when I do it in Brazil, it's a week. When I do it here in the US, it's a 3 to 4 day kind of retreat. And you don't have to throw up, right? Sometimes you just dance and you laugh a lot. You just laugh and laugh and laugh because it's purging, or you cry, or you go number 2. Like, you have all these reactions. Throwing up is very common, but not everybody's going to throw up.
But I think the operative word you said, it's a form of purge.
It's purging, yeah, because our body keeps the score.
Yes, it does.
Right, and so even I went to yoga on Saturday, or was it Sunday? No, Saturday I went to yoga, and I've been on this quest to silence some more chatter that had showed up in these past few weeks. I'm like, I'm going to shut this chatter up, and
we can bleep it out. Whatever that word was, we can bleep it out. You can say
it. I have a sailor's mouth. And so at the end, after an hour and 15 class, I was there in Shavasana, and the instructor said, words matter, so be careful with what you say, because spelling and the word spell. And when she said that, a memory of when I was 7 years old popped up into my head. And I was in Nigeria, where I was raised for 4 years in an American school.
You were raised in Nigeria, but you're from Brazil, living in America.
Yeah. I have a very unconventional life. And so when I was in 2nd grade, I was part of a spelling bee contest. And there were like so many students that had signed up. And it was like a full day thing. And I was a finalist with this American boy. I mean, a Brazilian and an American, right? A spelling bee. And I misspelled beginning. So he won, and I ended up in 2nd place. And I had this memory, and I just started crying because I realized that day, this past weekend, that my mom, I remember her being so proud of me for having gotten that far, for being in 2nd place, for having participated at 7 years old in a foreign country, foreign language, whatever. And I'm like, I don't have to be 1st place. It's okay to be 2nd place. And that just took a weight off my back.
Very liberating.
Like, very liberating. That chatter, just shut up. Like, I didn't have that chatter. I haven't had that chatter for the past 3 days. You gotta be first. You gotta be first. You gotta go. You gotta do. You gotta push. Like, it's okay to be 2nd place, man.
When they asked you to spell the word, did you spell it in Portuguese, in Yoruba, or in English?
I think I put 2 G's beginning, right? 2 G's, whatever.
G's, 1 N, or whatever. That's okay.
Yeah, something. I don't remember, but I remember I did not like losing, and I'm like, Urgh. And so that stuck with me, and I created a narrative that I had to be 1st place, right? And so pushing myself to the limit to be 1st place, and then on Saturday, I'm like, my mom loved me regardless.
In my work, and something I learned in Cirque du Soleil, which connects to what you're saying, is I learned the process, the journey is the experience.
Yes, the journey is a destination. That's what I say.
Yeah, I love that. In closing, you've gone through this journey of empowerment. You're still on this journey of empowerment. You've got all these rich resources from ayahuasca to self-development to multicultural awareness.
But I want to say something first before you ask me the last question in closing, because I kind of half answered your first question.
Let's go back to it.
When you said about pain, right? Minimize the pain.
Lean into the pain.
Right. So as soon as when I left my ex, I was acting like a wild woman for the first 6 months.
Define wild, because that can be different for different people.
I was just partying and going out and, on dating apps and just running wild. And then on Christmas Eve, I woke up feeling super sad. And that's when my grief hit me. Because, at Christmas, everybody's with their own families, in their own homes, or traveling, or with loved ones. And for the first time in 12 years, I was all by myself, all alone. And that's when I realized that acting wild was me running away from my pain, running away from my grief. And that's when I decided to stop running and really sit with what I was feeling and allow myself to feel the hurt, to feel the pain, to feel the sadness. Because even though I wasn't happy, anymore, and I hadn't been happy for a long time, I still stayed. We didn't have only bad moments. We had great moments. We traveled a lot. We would smoke cigars, on Friday nights, listen to, music. We had great moments. But in general, I wasn't happy. And so I had to grieve that. And so in January, this past January was when I really felt the pain of the divorce. And every time I wanted to run away from it, I'm like, nope, I'm just going to sit with it. And for 3-4 weeks, it hurt like a mother effer.
Is that Portuguese?
No. And then guess what? It passed. It passed. So
go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so when we allow ourselves to lean into our pain, to lean into our hurt, to experience the sadness, because all of these emotions are part of the human experience. Drinking, Valium, whatever, all these gambling, whatever, people are all distractions. They're band-aids to the pain that you don't want to feel.
And going one step further, it can turn into an addiction, and addictions are basically self-soothing.
Right.
What you just said there, I'm glad you circle back to this, because what you just shared there is so profound, and it's a symptom of modern societies, in particular consumerism, where we are constantly bombarded with distractions, denial of our reality. Mm-hmm. We never face ourselves. We never lean in.
Right. And that's why the world is so angry. We keep pointing the fingers to everybody. It's everybody's fault. Okay, if we just stopped, took a breath, and looked within to solve our own issues, this world would be much better. We would be much happier. People would be more at peace with themselves. Because when we are at peace, we don't judge others. We don't accuse others. We don't blame others. We let others be.
I totally agree.
Because we are being.
And there's a fine line between two things: blaming somebody, pointing the finger, but yet not judging them, but the ability to hold people accountable without placing blame. It's a fine.
Yeah, it's different. That's so different. Holding people accountable is one thing. And that's why I don't like, oh, it's his fault. It's my fault. That's so 6th grade. We're adults. It's not about fault or not. It's about holding yourself accountable. It's about being ethical. It's about doing the right thing.
Integrity. Yeah.
Integrity.
These are all my core values. They're stoic virtues that I subscribe to. So you basically segued into my final question. With all this wisdom, all this knowledge, this learning, this growth, this evolution of who you've become, it's a journey. Here you are, 50
Totally.
years.
It never ends. The journey will never have a destination because the journey is the destination.
Yeah. So here you are, you're in your 50s. You went through your wild phase. You've now come to this place of peace and self-confidence.
With a twist of wild.
But if you could turn back the metaphorical, traditional concept of time, you could turn back this clock. It's kind of a cliche question, but I'm always fascinated. And it's not about regret. What would this version of you tell the 20-year-old version of you so that you could either get to where you wanted to be, so that the journey could be quicker, maybe less painful? Are there any lessons that retrospectively you would have shared to you back then?
I think that's such an unfair question.
Ooh. Okay.
Because if I knew then what I know now, I would have had a completely different life.
So I'll give you an example. I'll give you my example for me. I will ask myself the same unfair question. In looking back, I'm an empath. Now I know that I have these qualities of high empathy and a sense of justice and a strong, all the things you mentioned. I knew that. Had I embraced that in my 20s and understood this is my genuine nature, and I'm okay owning it, and I understood about setting boundaries, this is something I wish I had known back then, because I look back in life and think, wow, boy, did I get taken advantage of. I could have done this and become so much more.
Yes.
So
but Vital, you know why it's unfair?
Yeah.
Why is it unfair? Because you were doing the best you could with what you had.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's why it's unfair. At 20, we don't have the emotional maturity to understand things as they were that we understand now.
Yeah.
It's unfair because we do our best every single day. We're just not ready to life is so complex, and we have hundreds of thousands of information flying at us every single day. And one person says one thing, the other person says another, and then we have to, work and study, and how do we have time to even process shit?
It is overwhelming. It's
overwhelming. So that's why I said this type of question isn't fair to ourselves, because we are always doing the best we can from the moment we are born with what we have, and we can only give what we have. But if I were to look back at my younger self, there is always one thing that I would always tell her: have more fun. Have more fun.
More fun. And on that note, that's the perfect way to end. Have more fun. And I'm going to add to that. Have more fun. For me, having fun is connecting to my inner child. Free.
Exactly.
Me, the authentic me, without fear of judgment, without fear of being.
That is having more fun. Go have fun. I love dancing. Go dance more. Laugh more. Spend less time worrying about how you look. Just allow people to see you for who you are, regardless of how you look. That is what I would tell her. Go live your life,
And on that microphone drop revelation, Camilla, it's been an absolute pleasure. Obrigado.
Obrigado, muito bem, Vital. Yes.
Obrigado. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us. And everybody, make sure to go in the descriptions, check out all the links. Camilla provides a lot of resources. Also, check out the magazine, Red Rock and South Vegas. Red Rock and South Vegas for all my Las Vegas locals. It's been an absolute
I love you. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.